Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're going to talk about the Marvels. We're going to talk about Nia DaCosta and Bob Iger, Disney throwing her under the bus. Yeah, this is really interesting. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not Disney has parted ways with the director of the Marvels. She didn't go to one of the cast and crew screenings. That was kind of weird, and she said it's because she had a birthday event and then she wasn't invited, and they were like, oh, she was invited, she didn't come. And it was weird that she was out there, filming another project before the Marvels even wrapped and they were doing lots of reshoots. Well, now it turns out that Bob Iger feels that she personally did not have enough editorial oversight. I mean, that's kind of a duh, right? I mean, she's a pretty young director. She's only done what, like 2 movies, something like that. But to say it like that publicly, he absolutely threw this woman under the wheels of the bus, and it's the blame game. They can't really blame COVID anymore, although they're trying. They can't really blame superhero fatigue. I mean, it's obvious that people are tired of Marvel. Spider-Verse movie did very well, but Disney's live-action MCU movies are not doing very well. So let's talk about this interesting turn of events, and the media is actually turning on Bob Iger. They're like, "What is the deal with Disney? Why is progressive Disney throwing this woman of color under the wheels of the bus?" I'm like, well, newsflash, left-leaning media outlets. Disney is not as progressive as they've been lying to you and telling you that they were. That's the truth. That is the truth. They thought that was a demographic they could tap. Obviously, the box office says differently. I mean, it's so bad that Bob Iger is kind of out there like, yeah, we're not really giving the audience what they want. Those two things are not meshing very well. So now when they're done with you, they're done with you, man. They're just like done with you. And we've seen during the strikes, like where Disney actually is. Like, they're canceling shows like crazy. Netflix is canceling shows like crazy. And 9 times out of 10, the shows that they cancel are more left-leaning, progressive, Tumblr-type shows. That's what they're canceling because they're like, yeah, there's no money in this. We thought there was. Our 22-year-old marketing person told us there was money in this. Our ESG person at the whatever fund told us that's where the audience is, and we're going to tap this market. And nah, it's just people don't care. They're not coming out anymore. So now it's time to just start tossing people overboard. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. No woohoos today. I'm sorry, and definitely no woohoos from Nia DaCosta. And I feel kind of bad for her. I mean, she said some dumb stuff publicly. All these directors say some dumb stuff publicly, but I feel kind of bad because they didn't invite her to the screening, and now Bob Iger's out there low-key blaming her for everything like this. And he's like, yeah, we needed more people to look over her shoulder because the Marvels would have been a lot better. This is Gizmodo talking about it. Damn, what does Disney have against Nia DaCosta? The middling response to the Marvels has created a situation where the Hollywood giant has taken an unprecedented stance of throwing its director under the bus. I think they've done stuff like this before. I mean, they threw Gina Carano under the bus, didn't they? The Marvels is likely going to end up as one of Marvel Studios' worst performing films in a considerable period of time. We'll see. They still have other films in the pipeline. And at a time when people are largely questioning the direction of a franchise that has dominated cinema for 15 years. That's not an ideal bit of publicity. Also not ideal the weirdly public way that Disney has decided to paint director Nia DaCosta in the wake of its release. It is a little weird. Like, I'm not saying this woman is perfect. I'm not saying she hasn't said some weird stuff, but it's a little weird that they are not really standing by her. Now, I don't know what went down behind the scenes. I mean, it's kind of weird, too, that you've got Aman Vellani, who plays Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, and she's out there kind of saying, like, yeah, she's always upbeat, but she's also like, if Disney actually made likable characters again, maybe people would come back to the MCU, to her credit. So who knows what's actually going on behind the scenes. It started earlier this month, just as the Marvels was preparing to release, when a damning report from Variety about the struggles the MCU was facing, in both terms of waning critical and commercial response and uncertain future slate, include a bizarre aside that, while discussing the uphill battle the movie faced at the box office, saw an undisclosed source take a shot at DaCosta for concluding production on the movie remotely, as she moved to London to set up this other movie, Hedda, with Tessa Thompson. People thought that was weird. I think it's kind of weird. If you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go, so close to the end of the production, right? Because usually the directors, if they're actually in charge, which again tells me she was never actually in charge, but if she was actually in charge, she would have been there to finish the movie and oversee the last minute editing and put all the final touches on everything. She wasn't. So they're like, yeah, get her out of here. Get her out of here, guys. I think she was fired. I really do. I think she was. They said it even led to DaCosta herself having to address the allegation that her move raised eyebrows at Marvel during the Marvel's press tour, citing that it was Marvel's repeated shuffling of their own movie that eventually forced her hand. Peculiar airing of dirty laundry through sources talking to Hollywood's media trades is nothing new or unique to Disney, but the practice continued even after the Marvels came out. Hey, they got to have somebody to blame, right? It can't be that people are just over this, that they're over the MCU. They have to blame somebody, and so they're blaming the director of the movie. A few weeks later, The Hollywood Reporter published a piece salaciously framed as accusing DaCosta of having bailed out on a cast and crew screening of The Marvels, only to reveal in its own reporting that DaCosta had not been invited, but her absence was because she was celebrating her birthday on the same day. The piece also sparked a round of criticism and a response from DaCosta's representatives, who told The Hollywood Reporter it would be quite disrespectful and upsetting to suggest that Nia has anything other than adoration for her creative team. So, as if that wasn't bad enough, now we've got Bob Iger out there. Get this, right? Disney has taken an even more unprecedented step into the light to frame DaCosta for the Marvel's failings directly from the mouth of CEO Bob Iger himself. Speaking last night at the New York Times Dealbook Summit about Disney's not too hot year via The Verge, Iger commented on the lackluster performance of the Marvels. That's what we're going to call it. It was a freaking bomb. While not directly footing the blame at DaCosta, Iger did offer what he believed was the reason for the film's underperformance, that there simply were not enough cooks in the kitchen. The Marvels was shot during COVID. Yeah, see, they're blaming COVID. And there wasn't enough supervision on set from executives, Iger said at the summit, which is certainly something to offer, given that, as the aforementioned Variety report lobbied, and has been a frequent criticism of the Marvel machine, Marvel Studios is known for heavy executive involvement. Could this have something to do with the exit of Victoria Alonso? Maybe she did have supervision from Victoria Alonso, and they took a look at this and they're like, yeah, this is hot trash. And not only that, but we've got this VFX thing we got to deal with now, and Black Panther with Namor, your OC Namor. Yeah, that didn't do so hot either. Get the hell out of here, Vicky. Get out of here. They say they hire directors for their own unique vision, and then they have a fix it and post attitude. I thought that too. They said usually how Marvel works is they already pre-visualize all the big action scenes, the set pieces, all of that, right? And then the directors kind of come in and I guess basically just shoot the dialogue, and they're rewriting it as they're filming it. And it's pretty slipshod. It's a pretty poor way to work. I mean, it's not much different than, I guess this is the new Marvel method, right? It's not much different than back in the day when they used to just outline the comic books and then the artist would turn it into a 22-page something, and then the writers would go back and try to shoehorn the dialogue in to make it fit. Yeah, we got some pretty damn good books out of it, but it's not an ideal way to work. It's just this is the way that you work when you're cranking out a lot of content. I thought it was kind of interesting when they said she was taking the last couple months off and doing another movie, because I'm like, does it matter if she's there or not? Because they're probably going to mess with it anyway. I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many rounds of reshoots did they have? It's probably not her movie anymore anyway. But yeah, to come right out and say that there weren't enough people looking over her shoulder publicly is not good. No matter what you ultimately think about the Marvels, positively or negatively, Disney's increasingly public critique of DaCosta are starting to feel weird and weirder the higher up the food chain they start coming from. If the studio is so concerned as to why this specific film, among a series of underperformers in 2023, didn't work, there has to be a better way of approaching that concern than throwing the director under the bus. Yeah, because like, which is it? Was she in charge of the movie or was she not in charge of the movie? You know? And it feels like they're case building. I think she got fired. I think she was either difficult to work with from their point of view. I'm not saying she actually is, but she might have been. Who knows? But, Disney does not like to admit failure, and they don't want to admit that the MCU is fundamentally broken. And that greenlighting a movie about Captain Marvel and her amazing friends probably wasn't the best way to go, especially since you had to have a whole lot of knowledge about the Disney Plus shows. And when they were putting this thing together, nobody knew if the Disney Plus shows were going to be a hit. Ms. Marvel wasn't that big of a hit. And Monica, she was along for the ride in WandaVision. And lots of people watched WandaVision because it was the first show out of the gate, and it's still, think of it what you will, but I still think WandaVision is one of the better, one of the better Disney Plus shows. But yeah, this is Bleeding Cool. Same thing, throwing her under the wheels of the bus. There they all are masked up. And yeah, she didn't have enough supervision. It's okay. It's okay, Timmy, that you failed your math test. You didn't have the right teacher, or you didn't have, your mom and dad didn't help you with your homework or whatever. And that is basically saying she's incompetent. They're publicly saying she's incompetent. And this is progressive Disney with a female woman of color director. And at the end of the day, all that matters is the money. They did not make money off of this woman. They probably blame her for this film not making money. And they're going to do what they're going to do. I mean, look what they did to Scarlett Johansson. They actually liked her, worked with her for years. And she asked for her fair share of revenue. And then they were basically calling her a bitch in public. I mean, this is the company you guys are all standing for. I just want to point that out. At the end of the day, the mouse wants its cheddar. That is it. And, I think things are going to change. I don't know if they're going to change for the better, though. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if there is any fixing this incarnation of the MCU, short of just hitting a reset button on it in like 10 years. But mouse wants its cheddar, and they're going to keep cranking out movies. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.